Start.
Okay, I'd like to call to order the Wednesday, February 14th, 2024 meeting of the Monona City of Monona Landmarks Commission. Is there a motion to approve the minutes of our October 11th?
I'll motion to approve.
Is there a second? Any changes that needed to be made?
I gotta just look at it. I think it's like my 60.
Hearing none, all in favor of approval of the minutes, say aye. Okay, we do have some appearances this evening. Guests. It's under the new business section, but just as a courtesy to our guests for their time, I would like to take a motion to move this to the top of the agenda so that they can get out of here. I don't know of any other committee that makes their guests.
I'm not sure exactly what.
So is there a motion to take things out of order?
Motion.
Second. Right, all in favor of changing the order of our agenda for the evening to allow for this master plan presentation to start off, say aye. Wonderful. In that case, I don't know if City Administrator Schulte wanted to say a few words on that.
I think he's just here if we have trouble with the slides.
Okay, okay,
Wes is gonna leave this.
all right.
I've got your slide.
I also just wanted to point out that all of the members have the presentation already, so we don't really need to go into it in super detail. I think it would just, we appreciate, I feel that this is more of a courtesy that you're extending to our committee at this point, since the House really isn't in step.
Well, I think to discuss the House and where we are, and the steering committee has discussed and what we're putting forward, I think it makes a lot of sense. Talk
Okay.
about just where we are in the process.
Okay,
We just did the same thing with parks.
perfect. Okay, great. Take it away.
So my name's Wes Mossenblock. I'm been on the steering committee. I am now the president of the Friends of St. Damiano. And Aaron O'Connor is here, so chair of the steering committee to support this too. And obviously Becca's been here throughout the entire process. So I will not go through this in great depth, but maybe next slide, do a high level, and then we can have questions and answers. So these slides are what we went through with the community at our last public information meeting. Go ahead. So, some background here on the process. It's been several years, from the purchase of the property, ironing out the relationship between the Friends of San Damiano and the city, forming, going through the MOU, forming during project steering committee. The Friends raised money to support this planning endeavor. We engaged MSA in 22, and then have been going through almost monthly meetings since then, and quite a bit of public input. So surveys, focus groups, 3, I think, public meetings, really starting from kind of the grassroots, like getting input on what the vision should be for this piece of property that's now owned by the city. And that, see what the next slide says. Keep going. Sure we have. Yeah, so this public engagement really helped us form the vision, and we kind of set some vision and goals out first, and then that really guided the concepts that MSA put together. Quite a bit of site analysis too, right? Tree studies, archaeological study, feasibility or condition assessment of the house, all kind of went into and informed this large document that you can read on the city website. If you're interested, go ahead. Keep going. Some process. Yep, so here you could see just kind of the public engagement again, and some of the themes that came out through that, so. You know, desire to really honor the history and culture of the property, educational opportunities, I think appreciation for the natural and peaceful setting that San Damiano is, and not wanting to alter that too significantly. A lot of input about accessibility and usage, wanting to drive additional usage. Obviously, the recognizing its location on the lake and the access it provides to a lot of people for I have lake access. And then the other thing the committee really focused on throughout all this is achieving these goals. How to achieve these goals while, you know, also creating a financially sustainable model for operating and sustaining the park going. So there were three concepts that were developed, you know, each kind of had its own flavor. So one, you know, really called this use and this concept, you know, retain the house, put some parking in. So I would just say this with concept A, B, and C, a lot of the elements were different to try to, you know, really get feedback from the community about what, you know, which aspects of, you know, each of these options were desirable. And so that was part of the methodology here. So this, keep going here. Really point here is that we boiled down the feedback that came in from these three options. The second one really had no big facility component. Maintained the drive, then concept three, you know, put the parking towards the street and had a new facility in the plan. So we gathered feedback on all these options, consolidated that, and that really formed the basis of what the steering committee recommended MSA include in the final concept. So again, just, you know, overall vision statement, sustainable, serene, natural lakeside destination. They're offering recreational, cultural, and educational opportunities for people of all ages, ability. Next. Goals. And so these, you know, again, this is, you know, before we provided this feedback on the final concept, these are the goals that really came out of all this, all of the community engagement, and really were the guideposts for us. So creating opportunities for recreation, education, community gathering throughout the year. I think all seasons was something we discussed a lot, which relates to the facility, facility topic. Preserving the natural environment and tranquility that currently exists. Public access to the property and the lake. Full history, honoring and sharing the history. And then again, the financial sustainability. So topics we already talked about, but really solidifying those goals for the project. Which then informed this final master plan, which has all of those elements that are small text. And but the idea is, you know, a couple important themes here. You know, keeping the parking where, you know, near Monona Drive, I think is an important piece. Accessible paths throughout. These nodes that are, you know, different opportunities for activity or recreation or you know, people to pause, stop and engage with the property. And then the big thing, you know, and this is, I think, the important thing for everyone to understand is that there's actually two options in the final recommendation. One retains the house and the other as a new facility. And the steering committee is not recommending at this time one of those options. And the reasons why are important, which I think are coming up here. Yep, so so a lot of these elements are exactly the same, and you can see that it's really, where does the facility, does the house remain, or does a new facility, is there a new facility? And you can see that not a lot else changes on the diagrams here. So obviously the financial impact here is important to understand, and these estimates, these are range of magnitude estimates. we asked MSA to phase the entire project. So how might you sequence these different phases? Phase 5 is the facility. You see that's the most significant cost out of all of these phases. One, I believe, is the parking and infrastructure. And then we move in, it kind of moves into the site from there. So one note here, in assessing the option to retain the Alice House, we did quite a bit of work, and Rebecca was involved in that, talking to the State Historic Preservation Office and understanding, you know, the feasibility and possibility of a historic tax credit project. Is the house eligible? We know it's been a nomination prior years. It was deemed not eligible, but we had a walkthrough and a discussion around what, you know, is it possible to restore the condition of the house to its 1895-ish condition, and would it be eligible in that situation? And you know, we got a pretty confident read from Dynac and McInnes that you know, if we were to do some work and restore the condition, you know, there's a good chance that it might be eligible. And so then that, I think, changes the financial feasibility here, because if you can offset some of this cost, you know, 40% of, you know, a good chunk of the cost, that it brings those two facility scenarios a little bit closer. And it brings it, I think, at least it takes kind of that obvious financial criteria. It makes it harder to make a decision in that regard. So it really gets back to, can these plans support the goals that we have for the property? Next slide. So this kind of details a little bit more there, how these facility budgets were developed. And I would say that these are, again, our range to estimates based on cost per square foot for both. And I would say that there's, at this point in the planning, you know, these are estimates. It's not based off an architectural program. So I think we've just, that's the caveat there. Next. Couple comparable possible new facility comparisons. You know, at the meeting last month, we talked about just, you know, we were pretty intentional about engaging the community around the Alice House question. So how did people feel about the house? How important is it, you know, to the identity of the property? And you can see here, we've got, you know, it's somewhat split. You know, I think, you know, and if you attended the meeting, you know, a number of people stood up and said, tear it down. But we know others, you know, you can see the yard signs around town. And we know that, you know, there's people that think it's very important to save it. Not important at all, you know, so it's a range, but it's split. It's not clear cut. And I think important piece of data for the committee that we took into consideration throughout. No. So, you know, I think why are we not recommending a final decision here? I think there's more study that needs to happen. Certainly in considering whether it's feasible to rehabilitate the Alice House, that we need to know more information. We need an actual program. I think, you know, for either option, a 4-season facility needs to deliver on those 4 goals. We need a place for year-round gathering. And we've talked with the school districts about the type, you know, the size of gathering we're talking about. So I think that, you know, we need architectural expertise to sort of inform this, but I think that's the challenge we give. We'd say we need to, you know, can we rehab the house and achieve X, Y, and Z from a programmatic standpoint? So I think thinking about the facility is something that increases usage. We think certainly both options can do that. I think it would take a slightly different shape, perhaps. Opportunities for education and sharing the history, again, I think possible in both scenarios, but, you know, I think you need to modify that house and perhaps add an addition if you want to get school groups in there. Certainly, you're going to gut the inside pretty significantly. There's in our walkthrough, there's a lot that's changed inside, and so there's not a lot of historic integrity here, certainly towards the back where you look at the kitchen and so forth, but there's a stairway. Look at the doorway, as you enter and exit, it's been maintained. So there's things you need to, obviously retain, but to accomplish these goals, I think there's quite a bit that would need to change. And there's got to be some more architectural work, concept at least done to see what this might look like. And then, what's a real budget for that, I think is the question. We've got, I think, again, the range of magnitude estimates, but it's not really based on a design. Finally, both options need to help generate income and offset the costs to operate. So next steps, we have one more meeting.
Yep.
Next week, I think, and we'll be looking at any other input that came in, since we introduced the final plan. We'll be then bringing that forward to city council. The relationship right now between the Friends and the city kind of takes us up until this point, so there's some work that needs to go into what's the partnership look like. I think bottom line, all these improvements, almost all need to be privately funded, and I think that's so from Friends or the 501c3 standpoint, we're looking at building capacity to deliver on a pretty significant fundraising effort. And I think that's the other thing that, when it comes to the facility plan, in some ways, this is going to be delivered, dependent on private capacity and philanthropy to support this. So it's another big input, another reason why we're not bringing an answer at the moment. There's some more feasibility study work that needs to happen. I think I covered this too. So that's where we are. Bridged version last month.
Thank you.
Anything you want to add?
I think probably the only thing, and the committee might be aware of this, I don't think you mentioned it, that if we do want to apply for that historic preservation, for that
Yeah.
historic landmark status, we're gonna have to change the entire front of the building.
Yeah.
Which is gonna cost a fair amount to do that without a guarantee necessarily that we're gonna get that landmark status.
The street front or the lake front?
The street front,
Oh, the street front.
Yeah, so that's
pretty much,
the,
so it looks like it did in 1894
Right,
or whatever.
but I think that's a good, again, we need to be fundraised. It's about $500,000 to, address that. So.
I just want to verify the purpose of your bringing this to our attention. Can you just are there a couple sentences? I mean, I understand we're the Landmarks Commission. I get that.
Yeah.
But we don't have any authority in this moment
Well, you may
This is
eventually at
eventually,
front, so we're
correct,
just updating and what's happening.
correct.
Same thing
Okay.
with parks.
Got it.
Or I would say that when a decision is made, one way or
Yes.
the other, that will have to come
Yeah.
to this body. So
Okay,
it will need to come to this body.
Yeah.
Within our option, it will need to formally go through this commission.
and I absolutely appreciate the need to communicate with all departments and to loop everyone in and have a participatory, process, and I get that. I wanted to make sure I wasn't missing anything in particular that you were hoping to get from
It's
us
just an
tonight.
informational.
Okay, all right, great.
Well,
Just didn't wanna,
if we're coming back, right, with the recommendations at some point. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah.
to be ready for that.
Well,
I
I think the
guess.
question I would have is, it's a big decision,
Yeah.
what to do with the facility.
Yeah.
Obviously, right, it's from a master planning perspective, right, there's this vision we're trying to accomplish in these goals, and there's how to best do that, right? And I think what we're trying to do is be very thoughtful And we're trying to do our due diligence on, can we achieve those goals with the Frank Ellis House? And I think we have to do that, knowing it's a city landmark and knowing that at some point, if there's a recommendation to do something different, that needs to be, can't be a quick decision or one that's not exhaustive of, I think, the things that we're looking at. So I guess my question is that coming through in the process that we're going through and the way the committee's approached it and any feedback now on the feedback you might be providing later, be helpful.
Yeah. I think it's very helpful to explain roles and responsibilities, roles and responsibilities of this committee, of the Friends, of your work, where's the overlap? I don't want people to be swimming outside their lanes. I want everybody to understand their piece in the puzzle, myself included, to be honest.
Wes, I think maybe what you're trying to get at is if there's a decision that needs to be made about the house and it comes before landmarks. And landmarks, how is the commission gonna react to whatever this decision is?
Yeah.
And I think my only front concern would be is if the city decides, hey, we don't think that it's feasible to keep this house, and you come before the commission for a demo permit and a certificate of appropriateness, I think the city and the commission needs to be very, very conscious that you are setting a precedent for the rest of our landmarks. If the commission were to say, yes, which we have not in the past, we said no, the last, when we didn't own it. And so I think that if the commission were to say yes or no, and then the city says, well, you said no, but it can go to council. And then the council says, okay, well, we're gonna override you. You're setting a huge precedent for the rest of our landmarks. And whether or not, other people can just say, hey, city did it, why can't we? So that's my biggest concern.
And of course, if we were gonna make any renovations on it and keep it, we need to come to you too.
Correct.
I think that's why we don't wanna rush into a decision. We have too many unknowns. Still,
Especially one that would be irreversible.
right,
I think the other point I would make is that if you said, the committee decides to go down the route of renovating and we're trying to bring it back for National Register status. The Landmarks Commission has, for the past couple of years, gotten grants from the state for writing up the National Register nomination, and I think that that's something we could probably think about adding to our agenda for the next grant. Or whatever year it
Yeah,
ends up happening,
CLGS.
yeah.
that'd be great.
Yep, I think those are both. our points.
Rebecca, just for my own understanding, am I hearing you correctly? Are you saying that this body could take on that responsibility of writing the grant?
No,
Okay,
we would add, like we just did for the Frostwoods District.
okay,
Apply for the grant,
okay.
right,
Thank you.
yeah.
Apply for funding to hire a consultant to
Right.
write the grant.
Right, thank you.
But this is the commission that has needs to apply, right?
Yes,
That's how the city obtains that type of funding, so it's a great thing
Because
to
it's not
remember. No, it's not.
So this is interesting. So the process, so we have like two pathways, right? So let's say there's the pathway of keeping the house or the pathway of demolition. So at a very high level, how would that affect this body? So let's just say the first, the decision is to keep the house. So then we would be here again. And there would be research into the financial, how do we make that happen financially, right? How do we bring those costs closer together?
But you wouldn't be doing
No,
that.
we wouldn't be doing
But I mean, just
The
what,
friends would
They
be
could
doing
come to
that.
us, yes.
but what Brandon, what you were saying about applying for a consultant and the grants and.
That'd be
things like
us
that.
saying, hey, Landmarks Commission, since you are a body that has the ability to apply for these grants, please do exactly this.
Yeah.
Can you do that? for us?
Got it, okay, all right.
Yep.
If it were a demolition decision, then we would have to,
Let's do the other one first.
Okay,
because if
sure.
We're rehabbing, what authority does Landmarks have?
Right.
Along the way there? Is there
Just the exterior.
just exterior? Okay, so then I think we'd be bringing plans
for the exterior,
forward, yep.
Right.
And this group would look at, okay, if we're restoring the front facade, but we're gonna add an addition on the side, let's just say,
Side or whatever.
you'd have to approve that.
but anything on the interior does not require
No.
any
Input.
input from this body, okay. If you were to do something to the exterior, it would. Okay, so that's everything that could happen if the choice were to go with this preservation. If the choice was for demolition, there would be a permit that we would,
There's a process. set
There's a
up
whole
for-
process in our ordinance for
All right.
certificate of appropriateness
Okay.
for that.
And is it sorry, this is me learning now, is it you making a recommendation to council, or does it actually come here?
It actually comes here.
Yeah.
There's an appeal,
But then if-
but it would come, the
So
decision
you
would actually
if you
be
deny
made.
it.
Yep.
The steering committee would have to
Appeal.
appeal to council.
Yeah.
Right, but there's a 6-month waiting period. right?
Yes, yeah, there's it's in the ordinance,
Okay.
if you wanted to look it through, I can send you. Or
I can pull it up right now, that'd be helpful.
Yeah.
so if we approve the demolition, it's approved. If we deny it, there's the appeal process, got it. And then ultimately, city council could override
Mhm.
our decision to. Okay,
So this is for a regulation of demolition.
mhm.
So
So there's
6 days period to appeal. Considerations for a landmarks commission considering the certificate of appropriateness for demolition.
Well, thank you for all your work. Like I say, I look at it every day. So I look at the states where it is. Every morning, every night, I see it right out my bedroom window.
Oh, you can see it from your house.
Oh, yeah, right in my bed. I'm laying right in my bed.
Wow.
It's
It's pretty cool.
Okay, well, we'll keep the updates coming, and I think as we move through the next couple of months, and get into more planning, I think. I view this commission as a resource.
Apologies if you've already said this and I missed it, but as far as like a timeline for when possibly that decision could come to this body. And we're.
It's probably gonna be a few years.
Few years.
Unless you get some angel who shows up with a big check.
This body could completely change, you never.
Right.
Yeah.
Why don't we just call this old house, get some house on that and be on TV and. Let's become a reality city here, we could just retail ourselves out on TV or something,
Well, there's the only thing I would put out there is that obviously we're kind of rolling the dice a little bit this year in terms of heating the house, and we're not heating it right now.
Right.
Whether we'd like to do that. Probably not real excited about going through another winter
So what
cycle.
is it,
So
is it forced heat?
it's but boiler system from the basement.
No, but is a boiler meaning hot water or a boiler?
Radiators, yeah.
Radiators, so you have to keep maintain heat, I have to understand that, right?
Yeah.
Cause forced air, you.
So
can-
that would be the only thing that could affect.
Right.
some sense of urgency.
Bigger
in terms of
donation box
deciding-
outside the building.
Well, at some point, we're gonna need to make some decisions, and obviously if we decide to get that up and running again, we obviously need to come up for RFP and get it, if there's like, 100,000 is
Something
around the
like that,
number to do
yeah.
that. So again, that's a large enough number, we wanna make sure we have some sense of direction, at least by that time when we make that decision. Otherwise, we'd be faced with kind of,
Oh, we can't, we don't.
Might-
throw in,
yeah, we-
yeah,
right.
something that's not gonna be there.
well, right, so so just know that we'd probably be having to have that conversation again. Again, the decision may very well take longer, as the
Right.
timelines we're talking about, but we may need to have that conversation about maintenance and just kind of making sure, if we're not, still not sure, we know, we need to make some decisions financially, just at least keep it viable, so.
But that's the city's responsibility to maintain the house.
Right, that's the parks.
Well, depending on what our MOU says, right now, I think,
Right.
exactly.
At the moment,
City
yes, it
owns the
does.
house, so the
Right.
owner needs to maintain
Yeah.
the house.
I appreciate that we're all comfortable learning together. So, am I hearing you say that maybe this body could speed up a decision
Well,
which would ultimately
no,
save
no,
the city
no.
some money?
Just
Okay,
I'm just saying overall setting a direction,
Right.
which obviously would come back to
Okay.
this body once the direction was kind of selected, but so.
but to your point, right now, while we're in limbo, we're paying to be in limbo. We're paying to like heat the house, maintain it. We're paying to like
Well, we're
keep
not
it shuttered, but
We're not
But the
paying.
friends are paid to maintain. it.
Right,
Right.
we should be, if there's gonna be, to minimize, we know there's gonna be foundation work, and we know that there's gonna be mold remediation, we know that those things will be worse if we're not heating the house on a regular basis, so.
so let's just imagine a world, and I don't know yet how I feel about this particular structure. But let's just imagine that everyone on the landmarks committee already knew exactly what they wanted for this structure. Is there something that we could do to speed this along, or is that just not,
No,
okay, all right,
I think a lot is gonna depend on the fundraising that the friends
Okay.
do and the programming that we.
The
make
things
plan
that
for.
is at tension right now is that the methodical process we wanna go through is not in sync with the time sensitivity around maintenance.
exactly.
So, and so that's the tension, and
Right.
the city, is making the decision to maintain the house as if it's gonna be there for the next 50 years, and we'd be spending more money than it is today.
Right,
But it absolutely can't afford to, and has chose not to. So now we've got some more time pressure on if, we can't keep doing this for 2-3 years.
All right, and we have an ordinance about demolition of neglect,
Exactly.
so.
So the city's at odds with the city on that.
And on the other hand, the city doesn't have unlimited capital money
Right.
either, so.
so it's really expensive to be caught in this place of not knowing.
It's a conundrum.
Are people in the home now, though? They're not, access isn't there.
No one's
Right,
in it.
so it's not, in a sense, it could be a seasonal access too, so at the point it is now.
Well, there's other work that needs to be done
Right.
really to allow groups and.
Correct,
Like we need to do some supports of some.
right, and
boards,
handicap
that kind of
accessibility
thing.
and all that.
So we're just not letting.
Can
anybody
groups come
into it.
into the property by itself, though? Can
Oh,
you
yeah.
schedule that? Has that been scheduled
Mean into the land?
into the
Oh,
land?
there's all kinds of
absolutely.
people there.
Okay, good, yeah.
Yeah,
Right, so we just have a facility that's.
But I mean, are there schools and
Mhm.
private organizations
Mhm.
coming in? That's good, that's good. I have friends that come all the way from the west side just to go sit over there.
Yeah,
it's very certain.
Yeah, cause there's nothing on that side of town.
Yeah.
They'll drive all the way over here just to watch a sunset from there.
The view of that
Yeah.
capital from there is
Yeah.
not a better one. Just, there isn't one. That's right.
It's like one step at a time.
Right.
The next step is to move quickly as possible to get, I think, a real architectural concept and see if we can achieve these goals and meet the programmatic needs and do that within a budget that is what we laid out. And I think that's the next step. And if the answer is yes, then we we can keep moving forward. If the answer is no, then we've got a, quicker decision point. I think you have to, from a fundraising perspective and long-term, planning perspective, we wanna be able to move forward knowing what we're gonna do, right? That's gonna be because we have more money to raise than just this house or the facility.
Is the only thing what's necessary in order to make a decision? It's all about funding, correct?
Well, but it's also about the program, what we want to do in the facility.
Okay.
I guess, and that could be different if it's the house as opposed to
Yeah.
a new facility.
Yeah.
Do you want to do something with all 3 floors if it's the house? Probably we'd have to add on because it's not big enough for larger events. Yeah, it just,
Or the MSA scope of work didn't cover the level of planning that's needed to inform those decisions.
Okay.
Right, it covered community, very high level, right? Where what's gonna be on the property, right?
Right.
Where's it gonna be? What infrastructure is needed? So I think we need to do a more thorough job of planning on the facility itself to actually get those answers.
So there was a slide in front of us. It talked about prices of keeping the house, the price of building a new structure. There was about $2 million difference there. And was that? We're comparing apples to apples in the sense of what you could do. Like you could have the same kinds of events in both places.
Not
You could have
really.
the same volume of people in both places for a $2 million difference. Okay, because
Well-
you can build as big as you want if you go with a new structure. I was just wondering, like, how did we get the cost of that new structure? I mean, I'm assuming the size of that new structure was the same size as the house, but maybe I'm
We
wrong.
based it on like an event facility for seating for around 150 people.
Yeah.
With a functioning kitchen and restrooms, and so we made some space needs assumptions
Yeah.
on what a new facility.
so I don't think it's necessarily the same size as the house would be. And none of this includes any kind of addition either to the house.
Right,
But the dollar figures pretty much were determined by using examples of other similar
Yeah.
facilities and what they cost to renovate.
right,
Put it this way, the new facility numbers is a little bit closer to representing what a new building would need to be to accomplish our goals.
Mhm.
What we need to do with the Alice House is get an architect in there and say, because
Figure out if you
in
can
its
meet the
current
goals.
configuration with the rooms that exist, it's
Mhm.
nowhere near
meeting the goal.
meeting the goals. So, I mean, can we get rid of the 3rd floor? Can we vault that ceiling? Is that an event
Mhm.
space? We'd have to put an elevator on. Like, there's all sorts of
Right.
things, but like, it's not unheard of. It's
Right,
not crazy.
right,
This is
right.
stuff that happens all the time,
Mhm.
all over the country. And
Right,
we just need to have the expertise, actually engaged in testing that out and saying, okay, we wanna have groups of this size, if we wanna do this. To get the tax credits, it has to be income producing, so it's a whole nother layer of, what's the business model gonna be, right? What's happening? So there's a lot of detail that needs to go into it.
Cause each floor could be its own facility in a sense too.
Potentially.
so it's probably more than a $2 million difference.
I don't know, I
We
mean,
don't know.
I think those are. That's a big number. $8 million, $9 million is I mean, that's a sizable budget, so. And again, 40% of that's $2 million. So, again, it's a. There's a lot of things to consider when answering the question, but.
Have you discussed with other organizations that have had this same, and not the exact same, but what they've done with structures in other communities that might have come up with the same type of, I don't wanna say problem, but
We're kind of getting into the weeds of what's not even defined in our role.
I know it,
And we have a lot.
we do, and I'm sorry,
Yeah.
yeah, but I'm just saying, yeah, I mean,
We're
there's
aware of
always,
some, but we haven't really talked to them.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right.
Okay, thank you.
So
Yeah.
thank you in the interest of this time. Good point, Rebecca.
Yeah.
Thank you, I appreciate it.
Thank you, Rebecca. I love it. I do. I love the people that come to the meeting with stopwatch.
You wanna get that thumb drive?
Yeah.
I do. Someone, when the first person pulled at me on me, I was kind of embarrassed, but then I was like, I like it.
All
I
right,
like it.
Thanks, Wes.
Yeah, thanks.
thank you very much. All right, moving on. Let's go to number 5.
Oh, no.
Oh, no. Letter 5A on the agenda, unfinished business. Discussion and possible action on 4705 Tony Watha Trail, also known as the Arrowwood House.
Yeah.
And talking about the documentation for that landmark.
I said I would get a hold of those people and I contacted them, but they never got back to me.
No.
I had the same experience.
Okay, and I'm letting it go because that's, and I asked my neighbor who grew up in the home. And he gave me the blank stare and I said, thank you, and I walked away. I just didn't dig any deeper into his thoughts,
Yeah.
cause I asked for photos
Yeah,
from his childhood is what I
Yeah.
asked for.
okay. Yeah, I mean, I heard from Doug too, when they were exploring. Some building permits, where they're just hard
Yeah.
people to get in touch with. And maybe don't even reside there. As their-
They reside there, but I don't think they reside totally as a, they have individual jobs.
Yeah, okay. Well, so at our last meeting, we reviewed the draft nomination form and the supplemental materials. The commission had recommended a few changes, updated photographs, reaching out to the owners to try and confirm which work has been done from the various proposals. So I have the updated photographs in there, that's just from the street that I was able to capture. I wasn't able to get a hold of the owners for exactly what work has been done. But I think, you know, we keep a meticulous log of building permits at City Hall. It's all in the file there. We'll be able to piece that together when needed.
It did seem like they were looking, when I drove by there about a month ago, that they looked like they were doing something to that wraparound porch. Starting to look at that. Just something about it looked different when I did drive by. The lower one, so when that wraparound porch to the left. That they had said they were, oh, they hadn't finished
No,
that.
it looks like they're.
Yeah, I think they ran out of
unfinished.
siding.
Yeah, they haven't,
They don't even have wrapped.
Yeah, they haven't wrapped that.
yeah, I don't know if
Um,
it was at one point and they.
And I didn't go up
make
to see if
repairs.
they were gonna have grass up on the top, remember? I didn't go that deep. But I wanted to see,
Keep an eye on.
yeah, I wanted to see
Yeah.
what they were doing there on the lakeside. And it looked like they had started to do something there.
Right, and so some of those plans were for a new entry.
Yeah.
Here you can see
Mhm.
the unfinished
Yeah.
platform. So it's.
That was a dicey entrance.
Yeah,
It was.
I also made some changes to the supplemental materials highlighting the historic significance of the property, calling out the sandstone foundation, as Ann pointed out, it's at the high point of the bluff there,
Mhm.
so it's kind of the most prominent property from across the lake. Which I think you explained, that's the reason it was
On
the
the
deed
table.
had traded hands so many
It's on the
times.
table that many times. I noticed my property changed hands a lot too. I think there was a lot of card playing.
The rest of the materials, all of the minutes, the building plans, those are the same since our last meeting. So it's really just to change the photographs and then some of the text here in the supplemental materials. So the next step would be if there's any further changes you'd like to see, we can discuss those. Otherwise, at any time, we can take a motion to approve this to go on file. And it can be a motion with certain changes as well, and I can make those changes before I file it away.
So are you gonna file it away like in that same form that we were using before?
You mean the one that's, the blue one in the packet? Let me see what.
I didn't have to.
Let me see. Oh, there, that's on the screen.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That
that one, yeah, exactly.
Okay.
I have a printout here, Anne, if you need one.
No, I'm
Okay.
fine. No, I just wanted to make sure that if you're saying that's the next shoot it's going into is to look like that and then be put away.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I don't have it.
Oh, and we had changed the architectural style to cottage.
Yeah, it'd be nice if they do a whole wraparound porch on there.
Could you maybe do early American cottage? I wonder if that might be a little bit better descriptor, because like if they ever come before us again, we need something to refer to.
Yeah.
Are you saying for a style?
Yeah.
If we ever end up getting through our plan to how to do recommendations for these properties.
Make that change.
The
The
funniest thing about that whole thing is that when I was taking care of their dog, they had a fight with their neighbor because the neighbor wanted to put up a fence. I noticed the fence is gone. I wonder if the neighbor moved and they took the fence down.
So would the style be authentic if it's early American when the house was built in 1900?
Well, that's what I'm trying to decide, like, you could just say cottage, but it,
Um,
Gotta say,
what's the structure style? Is it a dormer? Is it a? What do you call the roof line of that kind of building?
I think I'd updated basically.
I did a
noticed that
webinar on
fence was
it,
gone.
like,
That was
on
like a
the
3-month battle.
early, nineteen oh
I think they even came to landmarks because they
Style.
didn't think it should go in, you know,
Hmm.
like this fence.
It's funny, it's so fun, fences can bring out so much emotion.
I thought it was discussed according to the style of the roof.
You can always do some further research
Yeah.
over the next few
Yeah.
weeks and then
Look again,
make a
and
final.
see if I had it.
I thought there was, I don't remember what it was.
I think it should say something better than cottage.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay,
Cottage could be at any point in history.
yeah, sure. Yeah, so we can approve it with a final determination by staff and refer to you, Rebecca.
So you need a motion?
We have a motion to approve, well, what are we? Are we,
Does it need to come back to
deciding?
us?
Yeah.
With the final wording of the cottage, or is that independent later? Think, are we moving it now, or is there further determination on how we're going to label the cottage, which would require us to actually vote on it next time?
So you could also approve it with that final piece to be determined by staff.
Okay.
And I'll just defer to Rebecca and whoever else wants to do some further research.
Or we can share.
Yeah, yeah.
See if it all.
Yeah.
So. So I can move to approve. The. Documentation with the caveat that. Staff will take care of the style. Is there a second? How to word? The word about it.
Second,
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Number 5B. Discussion and possible action on 4529 Winnicott Road, also known as Lambeau Cottage. Also talking about the documentation on that property. And in your meeting packet, this would begin on,
Trying to find it.
let's see, yeah,
46.
46, thank you, Rebecca,
45.
46.
Packet.
Yeah.
Sorry, I think an actual paper copy, it shows the right information, but well,
Your, my.
so this
47.
information is wrong. I think because of this live PDF form.
Oh, did it
it's-
fill in?
It's taken the info from
The,
previously,
yes.
the
Yeah.
other form that.
Yeah.
So I haven't pulled up this
So
one.
page 45 should be the
Right,
Here's,
form for
so here we go, we'll look at this one. This is just.
the land
the
release.
other sheet. So
did that have a page number you said?
40,
No, yeah, it was, you said 45?
45 is exactly what Thor is showing us right now.
Yep.
But
online.
online it says Adel
That's what I think.
Wagner House,
Yes,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
That's why I'm.
Not in my own cloud, okay?
Yeah.
But if you go to 47.
Yeah.
Exactly, so 47 starts
Yeah, there,
with documentation.
there we go.
So we're lucky to have Anne, the current property owner here.
Thank you.
She's provided lots of helpful information, lots of photographs, but I know there is more that's included, so I'll be relying on you, Anne, to fill in some of those gaps and identify where
Right,
we need more information or where you know we have further information,
okay.
so.
Interesting.
I think
photographs.
for this, if you have and the
Mhm.
information, I think describing the significance of why it is a landmark is a little bit lacking,
Mm-hmm,
so if we can keep that up.
so now we're looking at what,
So the only significance is that it sits on Toniawatha Springs Hotel site.
right.
Like, why is that important?
Mhm.
So,
There's some architectural elements to it that I.
yeah,
Right.
But yeah, that is where I need to beef that up.
Well, and I guess the second little bullet there says the home is a well-preserved example of summer cottages, because they're all being torn down.
mhm.
So that we still have a significance of an original structure. And.
Yep.
Yeah,
And is that the architectural style we want to find in this,
Yeah, that
summer
might-
cottage?
That might be something we wanna.
yeah, I would say
take
it's
the
more of
last
a,
one, is
yeah,
like why,
because all the windows in the home were designed to open. So that was the whole, it was like all the windows open, French windows open. I don't know, I mean, I hate supporting myself sometimes, so I don't know what to say. Cause obviously, we weren't a city, so the individual who built it really had no ties to the city, except that it was his summer home.
You mean the windows fully open? Is that what you?
Correct, yeah, so they're all French windows that open in,
so I think what's lacking is who built it.
right? Okay, so we'll, and that's where I.
Called Lampoli.
Right, and now I will
Right.
pull up, I have it down at the senior center on their laptop stuff down there, so I'll pull that up and. I submitted that to you, Thor, though, didn't I? And then you submitted it on and it was edited, so you should have a copy of that.
Yeah,
I just saved it down there on their on their desktops down there,
okay,
so.
yeah, from the newsletter submission.
Correct, so the newsletter one was a little bit more informative, it told about, why he had built the house to look like it looked like that.
Mhm.
And, what he was doing for a living.
I think those would be helpful, and then, the book also says that you said your family.
And I didn't even go into, yeah, I didn't
So
even go
why,
into that,
like, why is that?
it's not important, it's just they named the name, you know what I'm saying,
But it is,
But there's something behind it,
Yeah.
right?
number. I know of, I mean, I know that, the boathouse, my parents just had their name on it, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? It always just said Gedco. And, then when I purchased it, I said, well, I think after my son put new doors on, we never repainted the doors. So I asked my mom, did she want me to put Gedco back on the doors? Or could I put the word the Anchorage?
Mhm.
And she said, fine, it's your home, do what you want. And I said, well, I think we should say it's the Anchorage, it's because I'm not Gedco. And they had a sign at the street that said the Anchorage, just like, people have their little airbrush stuff out there now. But when the city came in and put new streets and curbs in, then they took that sign down.
So was the street Anchorage?
The street was always Winnequa, but that was out there, like people now have a little sign,
Sure.
like up north where the road's
Yeah.
lined off all over,
Yeah.
this way too.
Yeah, so they had a sign out there so people would know that that was their home and what driveway to pull.
Yeah, so that would be good.
Yeah,
That'd be good.
and then like I said, when the city came in and put gutter in, they never put it back up again. So,
Here's the full new
Yeah,
plan
that was the
submission that
full
got
one.
edited down by Ann. So
We
it's-
can just include that in.
Yeah. so there you can see where I said they're the property originally acquired from the United States government for the amount of $3,000.
I wish.
I Googled that out and it really isn't that much. If you take that at that $1897 worth,
What is it in modern?
you had to go through, you can do it on your phone, you
Yeah,
know,
yeah,
it'll just, I'd have to do it, but
Sure.
you know, it'll give you the equivalents now, and it's like, yeah, that's what it's worth, you
Yeah,
know?
yeah.
That's what it worth then, that's what it's worth now,
So then
you know? And then I
they
went
built the
in,
hotel,
Yeah.
that burned down, and then the property was subdivided.
I would include this in the packet, but
Yeah.
then just pull out some of the pieces
Yeah.
that could go
To add
into
to
the
the supplemental
description.
info. Okay,
Yeah.
Do we know when, I'm sure we do somewhere, when Minones were stopped being a summer vacation? We reference this as the heyday of when it was summer vacation.
I think they're true.
Cottages, this was built in 1923, so that's in the midst of it still being a summer cottage destination. When
Right.
did it?
It says they made it home in 1954.
No, it was before that.
and White Lick might have that info.
I think it would be helpful.
Yeah.
I do know
Like,
my,
which time period was this? My
Yeah.
grandmother was a housekeeper in Madison and summered here in Monona, because that's what everybody did.
Right.
But like, what time period was that when that was happening, I think would be helpful as we describe the significance of the cottage.
so I would say that the significant would be probably about that time was when everybody, if you look at other improvements on the tax roll, they're all happening about that same time. The people
Cottages.
with cottages, that people are moving out of their tents and boxes, you know, making a residence. And I don't know if they're, because it was Blooming Grove, I don't know if you had to build something after owning the property a certain amount of time too. Yeah, I don't,
Bungalow and what, 19?
yeah, or they're all around the same time, yeah.
Mhm.
And I know my parents did say when they moved in, the power pole that is like 3 houses away, that's where the road ended. There were no other houses built up the hill or across the street. Or in that Waterman Way area, all that.
It's a beautiful home.
Thank you. And so, yeah, so it pretty much is like, you know, the next nearest like person that hasn't torn it down to be a cottage is 2 doors away. The rest of them have all been pretty much torn down on that section. That were cottages.
So what is worth 3,000 is worth about 111,000.
Did you do the math quick? Not a good boy.
Still, I wish. I'm lost.
Seriously, that's amazing.
And that would be what the hotel property would have been.
That's just a
Yeah,
piece of
a much
property.
bigger piece of land.
It's just the property and a
Just
property
the
in
property.
town.
That's at 1837?
I don't, yeah, that's what it
Oh,
was
yeah,
when
yeah,
they
yeah.
bought it from the, they bought it
I
from
thought I
the
heard
federal government.
1897.
No,
That's when,
It's 1837?
1837 is when it
Give me
was
a second.
purchased from the
yeah,
government.
the hotel developer bought it in 97 from the Deans.
Yeah,
I didn't know he owned the park hotel.
yeah, his wife was the daughter of the owner.
No.
Dean's wife. She had like a whole floor on the hotel
Still can
just
be a
for
good deal, I
herself.
have a feeling.
Yeah,
But why is it less?
Pardon?
It's only, so 3,000 in 1837 is only worth $96,000 today.
Yeah, like I say, it ain't worth a lot of dirt.
Depression or something, what is that?
Civil War.
I don't know, something happened. So 100 grand, just said
Yeah, for that, yeah, just, yeah, that's what it's, worth, the whole strip,
today,
for the top of the hill down to the park.
the whole strip.
The whole property would have
How
been
many
that.
acres?
yeah.
Probably, like maybe 10.
Wow, pretty cheap acre.
What's the square footage of the home?
I don't know, but it's in that.
I'm trying to figure out.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I was gonna ask, I think it's like 1,200 or something.
1,200,
It's
okay,
not
so
much.
it's
32 by 24.
And then you have an addition.
Yeah, all that. from the
Yeah,
exception.
okay, that's fine.
Yeah, so I just Googled that the other day.
And this document that we got in front of us, it's said something about a newsletter.
This was written by Anne for the home's 100th birthday.
Okay.
We put that in the newsletter at the end of the year. And it had to get cut down a lot for
Correct.
the Anita's word limit.
Right, and that's, I understood it completely, and like I say, so we have this copy here, and then I can add it.
Yeah, yeah.
Mhm.
Okay, so I'll.
So we're not quite ready to.
Pass it on.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, I think for these, as we're moving forward, we'll do kind of 2 reads. And the first one, we look at what information is still needed and kind of assign tasks to folks. And then the second one will highlight what's been changed and.
I do know my parents in 1945 paid $7,000. And they paid off the loans for years.
More math.
More math. for you.
Actually more interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
I'm totally impressed that on a 1-income family, they paid it off in 3 years.
Wow. Probably a lot of factors that play there.
Anyone want to guess?
I don't know, well, let's just put down,
20,000.
oh, that's probably about what it's worth now.
No, it isn't.
Oh, my lord.
The
That's
structure
just the
and
tax,
stuff.
that's about what it is.
120.
Don't tell anybody.
The
Oh,
structure,
120,000?
Yeah.
the
Yeah, I
structure.
mean,
No.
the whole,
That's it.
the whole
I don't
property.
think we have any properties that low.
Land.
Oh, yeah, it's, yeah, like I say, it doesn't have a basement.
I live
Put
with
your
like
tax
two.
on that, that's okay.
But the land. The land value on
When you
that.
sell it, you
Oh,
go
yes.
higher.
If you were to sell the house today, yeah. Yeah.
Right, the house itself might be insured at.
Yeah, yeah.
or assessed at that on the tax roll for the house,
being
the
recorded.
It
structure.
is, yeah, we won't.
The structure, all of it. I'm saying
Structural.
structure.
All right, let's go. I think we should move on. Okay.
So anyway, but, yeah, so I will. If not, I could give you a tour of the basement.
I'm
Yeah,
good for it.
I have grandchildren that would
Very
not go
interesting,
down
though.
there.
All right. Is there any more discussion on the Lamboley College, cottage?
Yes, the other thing is, Anne has invited the commission to
Right.
tour the home. And
Yes.
we wanted to just discuss days and times that work well for folks. Cause I hate sending out doodle poll after doodle poll, trying to identify dates, it's my least
So,
favorite.
and
thing
I'm
to do.
open to anything, so if you wanna come on a.
Spring.
Yeah, I don't care,
Spring is-
whatever, or if you want,
Yeah.
you know, and you can do it over a lunch hour, you don't have to, you know, whatever.
Do you want it to be a weekday,
It doesn't matter to me,
a Saturday or
retired.
Sunday
I'm
morning?
retired,
maybe?
so it's whatever happens.
Are you looking for us to look at our calendars right now?
No, I think that's
No, I
up
think
to
just
board.
generally, like, as a, yeah, there,
Yeah,
you
general
want evenings
thought of,
work, if there are days that are
Are
best.
you cooking?
I'm cooking, that's what I'm-
Cookies for sure.
I'm cooking.
All right, it's dinner hour.
Bring your own beverages, is what I say. That's the only thing I say.
Be a
BYOB.
meeting after party, yeah.
Well, it might be nice to do it just after one of our meetings in the spring when it's still light.
Still light,
Later,
correct.
So that we can
Because our
see
calendars
that
are
side of the-
relatively cleared anyway.
Yeah.
for this.
That's a really
Yeah.
good point.
And get a wind from the south.
Right, do we
Could
meet
be in
there?
place of them.
Sure.
Yeah, you could do that too. Yeah, whatever you want to do.
If
Yeah.
we're slow one month, just make
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, maybe that's a really easy way to be flexible
Yeah.
about it.
So it's whatever, it doesn't bother me.
Okay,
All right,
potentially next month.
Thanks for the
Just give me 3 days to clean.
All right.
well. not
It's
next-
small, I don't. think it should be late.
Yeah.
I pace myself.
Yeah.
I'm an hour on and an
By
hour
the time
off.
you're done, you have to start
Hour
with that.
on.
All right.
This is life. Hour on, hour off.
All right, is there anything more to be said about the Lamboley Cottage? Oh, I keep saying
That's it.
college, all right. In that case, let's move on to new business. 6A, we've already addressed. 6B, review of remaining landmarks. Meeting documentation that's in your packet. Second on page 71. Is there really?
So-
a packet this time?
Yeah.
Is the Schultz Farms, that just says site, is that Jerry's house, the greenhouse?
I think it is, yeah, right on the corner with Cold Spring. And
Oh, no, that's a different one, I'm thinking,
He was on,
I know what you're talking about, that's the three streets coming together.
yeah,
4 streets.
I'm sorry, where are you?
the green one is the,
We already said that one.
71 of the.
Oh, I'm on
That's the
M
French-
61,
French
sorry.
Luger Farm.
No wonder it didn't look like.
French, Schluter Farm.
Yeah, it's just a block away from City Hall here.
No, not that one. Schluter Road, that's Schluter Road.
You're thinking of the, aren't
The chicken
aren't you thinking of the one on Dean?
That's Dean.
Which one?
Well-
Right, that is Dean, but yeah, and we did that one.
Shelter.
That's a Charles Fix House.
Yeah, that's a
Wait,
Charles Fix.
That's a.
No, no.
Cow flesh farm, I remember,
Yeah.
never mind, okay.
And it was a mink farm too.
So Thor, how do you see this moving forward? Are you hoping that people will look at the sites that still need some work and just volunteer, or what
Yeah, I
what are your
think
hopes?
there's confusion at the previous meeting about how many we still needed to complete. So I wanted to just document this, confirm that we don't need to prepare these forms for the lost sites.
Okay,
Okay.
Can't maintain them, so.
Right,
Or the mounds, do we have to do the mounds?
so these are the remaining sites, and so, yeah, we can pick our next one that we wanna
Seven.
tackle.
7 sites.
Well, and Canute Rendell is a site.
Yeah, some of these they were listed as sites on kind of the master document.
That's, yeah, that's
But-
not all
but there are-
existing, so
Where's the
Rindell.
George
the
Nichols?
Rindell House.
Yeah, the Rindell
that
house is down.
burned down.
Okay,
And the
So we
site's
would
not
not-
relevant
Yeah, no.
anymore,
And they
right?
lost site, there we go.
Well, it's not even.
Well, it's a mound now. So
But
it's
it's
not a
that,
house.
that
But the
mound
house-
is not the, and
Yeah, right.
landmark.
So now I'm
then there's
looking
like
also
George
the,
Nichols Farm, that
Yeah.
it's listed as a site, but there is a structure up in that, I think it's the oldest.
Yeah,
It's like a
it's
pre-1900
house
house
there,
there,
yeah.
yeah,
you know the name
So-
of those people? Cause I know those people.
I don't know
They're
the
still the same
current,
people that I know.
current-
The
Someone's living in it?
Nichols-
yeah,
The
yeah,
Nichols home, it's
Yeah,
over there
but
by
it-
you,
That's by
So-
Outlet Mountain.
yeah,
That's
it's
by
listed
Alpha.
as a site on our landmarks
it's up in the circle.
documentation, so, yeah.
Well, I mean.
Right,
look at
right.
those
I
sites.
forget her name. Her husband worked at Oscar Mayer. I remember that much. Damn, I can't think of her name.
So
Maybe we do that one next, you know them.
I can't remember their name. I'll have to ask you why. I remember her husband worked at Oscar Mayer. She was on the Dean House board with
We can pull
which
that
The-
are you thinking of?
the Nichols home.
The Nichols School?
No,
from.
Nichols home.
No,
Nichols
Farm,
home.
6204
Nichols
Ridgewood,
Farm.
George Nichols.
Oh,
Farm.
got it.
I think is like an 1890s home.
Mhm. I've been in it once or twice. It's really small inside.
That's the right address, 62. Is it right on
On the circle there.
it's right on it. My
Yeah.
map is-
That Ann has some good information.
My map
That's
might
the
just be
Nichols. I
wrong.
mean, Nichols is
Yeah.
a huge name here, right?
And I think that
But,
family
anyway.
had they had something in there too. I remember her showing
There's
me
a
some.
folder outside. the
Yeah, but
house.
inside the house, she had some other information.
Isn't there a mound right outside the door
Outlet
too in the
Outlet.
back? No, what I mean, I know the outlet mound.
Oh,
is
I
there,
don't
but
know
Isn't there a
because-
small mound right out in their backyard?
There might
maybe
be.
There is either.
Yeah,
not
I
in their
I remember
backyard.
her showing me
I
stuff around, this, I'm talking like 30 years ago.
There's a mound right outside.
Yeah, it's right
There's
on
the
that little
house.
triangular
Here it
is.
piece
Is that
of. Yeah.
Cause it has a little rectangular window, right?
Yep, it has that window,
Or
that
the,
usual window.
Octagonal window up at the top.
So that's a landmark?
This is, yeah. The UPS truck.
Got the UPS truck blocking. the street
Right.
view.
Yeah,
But the boulder is right by the
Mhm.
driveway.
Yeah.
Mhm.
She, what the name is.
Yeah, we could do that one next.
Sure. Okay.
and
So do you want me to call Ann Weidlich and get that information from her and then find out that woman's name and then I can get in contact with her?
Yeah, if you're already contacting her for.
Well, cause I was on, like boards and committees with her, so she might remember me. And then Ann might be able to give us also information.
right.
You know
Yeah.
what might be helpful? Because Ann Weileck's not getting younger. And she's got all the information.
On all these.
Maybe
why
we just
is
ask
it
for
with
her
Yeah,
Yeah,
the
the
rest that she has for any information she has on them.
And then
And then Willow through it
not
Very-
in the wheel.
each time.
That makes
I'll do
sense.
that, I can contact her
Very
and ask
good,
her.
yeah.
Okay.
And I'll just add, I'll go through these with her. And see which ones she has.
We can focus on Nichols.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct, but I'll just see what she has, she probably has on the morning side sanitarium and everything too. Actually, that was just on PBS the other night,
Oh, but it's
talking about the.
we don't
cannabis.
need anything for the sanitarium, right, because it's a lost site also.
It wasn't PBS, it was Lost.
So what I'm hearing is that Anne
Yep.
is gonna continue being a rock star, reaching out to folks, and you're just gonna meet with
I'll
Anne.
meet with Ann,
And maybe
yeah.
just get a little bit about each of these
Correct.
remaining properties.
correct,
Brilliant idea.
Yeah.
All right, let's go on. So letter number 6C, discussion and possible action on 2024 Landmarks Commission work plan, also in your packet on page 72. If you'll remember this document, we've kind of brought it up from time to time.
Yeah, so I've updated this for year 2024 with, it's a lot of carryover from last year, especially around, Historic Preservation Month in May and some of the activities we had kicked around. And, updated it to include our ongoing work with Pagoda, this effort to document the landmarks, and then some of the long-term activities, doing more outreach on the National Register to try and maybe, there's several properties that were identified in the architectural survey. So continuing to reach out to them to see if those property owners might be interested in a nomination. Future CLG grant opportunities, potentially around the Frank Alice House. And then we had talked briefly last year about drafting some preservation design guidelines.
And I think the CLG grant might have that included. You can do that.
It is eligible next project, yeah.
Not guaranteed that we get the CLG grant every year, right?
Right.
So, but it could be. For our next grant.
But it helps your score if you have received it in the past and successfully completed a project and spent that money.
So I'm looking here and I'm seeing that in March, we've got something perhaps on the agenda then, to start thinking about Historic Preservation Month.
Yeah,
When it comes in May and ideas for what we might do.
I think that'd be a good place to start here with our discussion is our capacity for
Yeah.
Historic Preservation Month outreach.
Yeah.
And what we want to accomplish this year with that. Last year, we mostly just focused on the web pages, some newsletter submissions, the library display. I think there's some edits that can be made to those web pages just to tighten them up and maybe feature properties this year.
You know, house tours would be so fun. When did, I don't know, I just contacting the owners of the homes that we've just looked at, the list of homes, and just seeing if they would be open, so just opening their house for a weekend. I don't know.
Yeah, they haven't done it, and they, Commission did one
Yeah,
Mhm.
way before my
so
time,
interesting.
Yeah.
so it's been a long time.
Yeah, there's just a number of them that I just.
That would be a
love.
lot to pull off though by this May, but to try to get a coordinated time, a
Yeah,
house tour.
like if there was a weekend, I guess I'm just thinking of perhaps an open house situation where people would just be able to come in and the owner would just be there to answer questions.
Yeah.
You know, and the people could come in on a designated day,
Like we
between a
already,
designated hours, you know,
we already have the map.
like a self-guided tour of Monona,
Yeah.
like on this, here's the pamphlet.
Yeah.
On this day, these properties will be welcoming visitors.
I wish there was a way that, and I remember saying it to Jake, that, it was one of those little codes that you put on your phone and it pulls it up. I
A little bit of
remember.
information about each
Yeah, I
one.
wish, yeah, I
yeah.
wish that could be somehow put on a
On our
marker
plaques.
or something, so that when
Yeah.
people come by, they, they're reading that and there's like, what,
Yeah.
15 words? Well,
Right.
then they could key code something and up comes more information.
That's
Maybe we
so
put that
cool.
on next year's.
And I asked Jake for something like that at for the parks,
Yeah.
that the Parks Department would have a little thingy and you could pull it up and then have all the information you wanted about that park you were in.
They're tricky to run on outdoor signs because they're
Scratchable.
So
Yeah, no, I get that. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
You can't guess where the line is supposed to
Right.
be, so
Right.
they become difficult to put outside, but adding them in certainly for a limited time, if we
Mhm.
wanted me to add a
Yeah.
placard.
Yeah.
For a limited time.
For a limited, just so, because like I said, I see people standing out there and then they're like, oh, and their necks are cranking, you know?
did you?
I was gonna
Donovan?
say, to your point. What if we establish a strategy to do this in 2025? You know,
Right.
Right,
reach out to the owners, see how many are interested.
Mhm.
pick a weekend
Let's
that we
say,
suggest.
let's say 2/3 of them are, because
Yeah.
I doubt they all will be, I don't know, maybe they'll be.
Yeah,
But then, you know, start thinking about a route or.
Or even if you
times.
say it as a garden walk through historic homes, that they don't even necessarily have to
But I
come
think
in
we
the
need some
home,
time to
right?
do it well.
yeah.
They
But
could
we
walk the
establish a
property in a
strategy.
sense.
And if you're going to ask people to open their homes, you want to guarantee that people come. So
Right,
does that mean a ticket? Because if you have to buy a ticket, you show up.
right.
If you don't, if you
Yeah.
can just go, do you just say, I'm not gonna put it in?
That's true, like, Milwaukee's a much bigger town, obviously, but
Mhm.
Doors Open Milwaukee happens every October.
Do they do
You pay a
tickets?
ticket,
Yeah, and I did
And-
Evansville, they did
And you,
tickets.
you know, you get to tour all the different
Yeah.
sites.
But a ticket means people.
And I remember the Evansville one, you met somewhere and then they set you out so that there weren't all these swamped people in one spot.
Staggered.
They staggered it somehow.
Is it
There's
just, it
open
just
black
requires.
ones.
And there's usually, I
Yeah.
volunteered for it when
Yeah.
I was in school, but like,
Yeah,
you know, that's a bigger. Much
Area.
bigger venue that, you
Right.
know, area, but maybe these owners would wanna have, you know. Helper,
oh, for sure.
so maybe you can get a school kid or something.
So how,
Street kid.
And then you got parking and everything else. And I remember one of them we did, they shuttled. I know,
That's a bigger event.
that's a big, it was a small town.
But if you
they
open it
shuttled.
up, right, then you
Yeah.
don't know how big it's going to be, so you have to consider.
You have to put parameters down first, yeah.
so John, you mentioned 2025.
We're in 2024, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So you're thinking Historic Preservation Month, May of 2024 is not enough lead time to see if folks could have sort of like a doors open Monona
I don't know.
weekend.
Maybe it is.
I don't know, I think
We're-
people have already,
February,
I think
March,
people have already
April,
booked
May.
themselves into their
I think
resorts
it's
if
up,
they're
I don't
leaving.
know.
In February, 3
Right.
months. I mean, it just depends how quickly, I mean, if we
You
were.
have to have everybody agree on one time.
True,
Right.
true,
That is so we have to come
Right.
up with a time
right,
to suggest to people, hey, with this Saturday or Sunday work,
yeah,
from 2 to 4 or something, and then get everybody to agree to a time in May.
yeah.
Mhm.
Mhm.
At the
Is this
end
a
of
city
May.
event?
What was that?
Is it a city event?
It
Well,
would,
It would be.
it would be, I think, yeah.
With all the
Are there
rights and
any-
responsibilities that come with being
Yeah.
a city event, is that what you're
Yeah,
getting?
yeah.
right,
Yeah.
right.
The crazy
Meaning,
world we live
like
in?
promotion,
I know,
Well, not that, just, well,
Yeah.
that's a nice one to think about. I was thinking about, you know,
Letting people into other people's
Right.
homes.
yeah, something gets stolen. I don't know, you know,
yeah,
something,
right,
Right.
somebody
right.
falls, somebody,
right,
You know.
right.
that's why I say
I don't
maybe it would be excluded to say a yard, come and walk around someone's yard.
Even
Versus-
though.
I know.
There's walking tours that you can do, and we already have that on our
my
website.
question is, do we need city, some type of,
Some kind of waiver.
Some, yeah,
Okay.
type of
ability.
well, I don't know, I don't like
a
waivers.
safety net or,
Yeah.
Just the city say, yeah, okay, that sounds, I mean, it's done,
Everywhere.
it's done, we've been,
Right.
yeah,
so.
I'm
Maybe
sure.
we
we
look
could
into
work
how
with
we
that.
do one.
Yeah,
So
I mean, it'd
maybe
be
not
nice if it
this
was,
year.
could happen this May, wouldn't it?
I think it could. I
Do
don't
you?
think it needs to be crazy fancy.
I think it,
It
I
could
mean,
be, it could be like,
how many are we talking?
we
It
learn how
could
to
be-
do it in 2024 and then we do it really
We
well
do
in
pilots.
2025.
We'll sample people.
I mean, you have to learn somehow,
Should it become an annual thing where you do 3 a year or,
maybe,
you know,
yeah,
So
that
it's
might be a
easier to
good way to
tackle?
look at
That
it.
would be better because,
It's a great
and
idea.
some
Yeah.
warning or something?
And then you just.
and do it in
cycle
an
through-
area so that you don't have
So you're
the
walking.
distance that
Yeah.
you're
Need a
doing.
shuttle?
Yeah,
Yeah,
versus a shuttle. We don't want the bus, do we?
It doesn't
So-
necessarily have to happen in
I don't know.
conservation either.
Yeah.
true,
right.
That's true,
true.
to be an honor of.
So what are we asking? I think I'm hearing that we're asking Thor to do something, but I can't quite articulate it, like look into.
I would
Yeah,
guess
the
we need
city
somebody's
resources
approval.
needed to
Yeah.
Yeah.
turn into a real city.
Like, what would it be
Yeah.
if it were a city sponsored
Yeah.
event?
Mhm.
Yeah.
What would the city need to
Yeah,
do? I suppose.
Would the mayor be available? I mean, you know,
Yeah.
we could go down the whole line of it. Would there be? You wanna get all the people involved?
Yeah.
well, it's great, we have an administrator now to
Yes.
reach out to about things like
You can
this.
look up Doors Open Milwaukee, though. there's a
Doors
website
open.
for it.
Okay,
And you also mentioned the
It could
city
give you just
of,
some like guidelines.
Evansville.
Evansville and then what's the,
I think Madison.
Oshkosh, where's Walker's?
Madison might have. had
Walker,
one.
is that in Oshkosh
that
or?
was Milwaukee.
Walker's Point,
I'm thinking of another one north.
Milwaukee area.
Yeah.
That's Milwaukee, but there's another one, Walker's Woods or something, and that's a whole community. Thought that was Eau Claire or it's north.
Okay, so Evansville for sure,
It's a whole neighborhood
we could
that's.
look into, all right.
okay,
That would be amazing, but otherwise, so for just maybe just some considerations between now and our next meeting about things that we could do for historic
Yeah.
preservation.
like marker
Month.
cleaning, are we gonna pursue
Mhm.
that? still?
Give everybody some steel wool and some umbrella. Well, where you were gonna wait for the gentleman or whatever to volunteer to do the marker that's been
Yeah,
moved anyway.
That's,
I've kind of given up on
Yeah.
contacting him ever again.
Why did we move that marker, by the way?
Which
We didn't move the street sign,
Which marker are we talking about?
Oh, it's,
the town hall marker.
yeah, that got moved to the Dean House.
Well, I think
A
just
few
so it
people were
wouldn't get
concerned that
lost.
it maybe would get
Were you gonna-
impacted
are they
during
gonna knock down
construction.
that whole corner?
Oh, yeah. It's, the whole thing's gone.
I'm
No.
talking about the corner where the street sign is. It's a huge street
big-
sign.
the big
It's a
stone,
big stone.
like two little walls.
Didn't we
Yeah,
discuss that already?
they'll do something with it, don't worry. Somebody
Where
won't
the
like it and they'll
blue-
back
where
into
the
it.
project's
Yeah,
going,
yeah.
yeah.
I thought we already discussed that.
Yeah, but she's
It's a
saying where they
temporary
put the, you know, where they put
I'm
the,
saying,
they
why would
put,
we tempt-
where they went in and put all those on Monona Drive that are the looking like
We can-
community signs.
So
I said some backhoe back into it.
just so we can wrap up this agenda point, so on the agenda says discussion and possible action. I'm taking away possible action is Thor's gonna look into a couple of ideas
Mhm.
that we've been discussing here. On the work plan itself, there are some items that do have a timeline of May. And so maybe Thor and I can get together between now and our next meeting and consider as he just suggested, perhaps like, for example, cleaning of local landmarks.
Mhm.
Now, that is a May timeline. It's also May is Historic Preservation Month. Maybe we could do something like that.
Yeah.
All right.
The
we did-
action would be, is this the work plan? Are there items missing? Are there things we don't
Got
feel are priorities for this year
Got
that
it.
can be removed?
So are we asking to approve the work plan, or is that
Right.
what you're?
Or what edits?
Or international style homes. Is that just not been done on the webpage or what?
That has been done, so I think it can be edited, we can improve that and we can focus or.
So maybe we
feature
take
certain
on,
homes.
maybe we take off the international. Well,
Which one are you looking for?
this international style homes and then it has a webpage, possible walking tour fundraising opportunity. That's like 4 things going on in that one.
Yep, these are all items that came up last year around
Yeah.
this that we didn't get to.
So, but we did do the international style homes on the webpage.
Yep, there's a separate webpage for that.
So we
now.
could probably take that off.
And there's a story for each one.
Not yet,
Mm-hmm.
Oh, so there's.
so there's,
Like an overview.
yeah, we can continue to expand
Okay.
on the webpage with features.
So maybe for Historic
Blueprints.
Preservation Month, we focus on international style homes.
Yeah.
We update the webpage. Maybe we have a walking tour. We cross 2 things off our list.
Maybe just focus on that area.
Yeah, we can talk about that next time. So Thor, I don't know if there's the appetite, I mean, it's 6 o'clock now.
Yeah. We can
Should we
table
put
this.
off, yeah, let's table, really pouring over this work plan and we'll approve it next time or make
Yeah.
amendments next time. But in the meantime, I'm definitely happy to meet with you about
Yeah.
some of the things we
Yeah.
talked about. Okay,
I've
great.
got a good sense of some edits that
Yeah.
you all want me to make and.
Yeah,
narrow
Really
this down.
quickly, we were talking about Preservation Month. A few
Yeah.
years ago, we did PSAs for WBMO, describing our landmarks. they could either rerun those during preservation month, or we could re-record
Mhm.
with some of our updated info.
Right. Easy enough. They probably do
They
still have
probably
them.
still have them,
Yep.
if they still have them, they could just rerun them
Exactly.
if we asked, if we did a little promo about it being preservation month.
I've rerun PSAs every year.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
Okay, sweet.
be nice when something's done already.
Great idea.
All right,
Add a line.
number 6,
Yeah,
number 6D, staff updates from Thor. Number 1, Springhaven
Yeah.
Pagoda request for proposal.
so
Ugh,
after our October meeting where we approved the RFP, we set that in motion, and then I got pushback from Public Works and our city attorney that this might not be a service that we're looking to hire, it might actually be infrastructure work. So the city attorneys explored a little bit more, and they concurred that it is a Public Works infrastructure project, and with our anticipated price tag of over $20,000, they needed to draft a formal request for bid, and it will go through the kind of the Public Works
Okay.
process.
Okay.
So they're drafting that document now. Last I heard, last week, I was pushing them for it. They said it'll be ready very soon. So I think we can anticipate
Talked
it.
about
any
going
time
out,
now.
having garbage.
I know.
I really hope we can have this in hand and by the end of the month. And then I'm working with Brad, our Public Works project manager, who does all of the bidding. We'll get that posted and it'll go through
How
that
is
open process.
infrastructure?
So well.
It's
Yeah.
a thing.
It's
Thing
a
on the
thing.
front.
Why has it been
Concrete work.
infrastructure for the past 10 years that we've been talking about this?
Because
So does that mean they kind of own it now and we're,
No,
no?
this will still be our project.
Okay.
Yeah.
Just they manage it or something?
Yeah, I think it'll now, once we have a
just gets.
contract identified,
Yeah,
it'll have to go through Public Works Committee.
And us.
And they'll have to just approve, the city spending that money and approving that contract. But
So does that go in their budget?
That's what I was just gonna ask, is that their money, their budgeting, or our money?
no,
It's all the same
Yeah,
line.
yeah,
It
it's
is,
still,
but
there's,
But,
a- it's not our money either. There's a specific capital allotment for this project from 2022.
right, but that's
Yeah.
expiring, I thought.
Yeah, if we don't use it by the end of the year,
The end of this year.
yeah,
If we don't
then,
use the $60,000 by the end of
then
this year.
I was told by Mark that that'll likely just get rolled over into general fund.
Oh, okay, so we lose it.
So we lose it.
Yeah, so we need to get this done by the end of the year. And, or make another request
Okay,
to
did-
council.
It's a second month, we got.
No, no, we-
One more month.
We're all.
Haven't last year.
February 2024 right now,
So
it's still 10 months. It's not
And the
possible.
request to council be just the ship.
Remember, we had Christmas already.
Yeah, as depending on things are going at the end of the year, if it's during the next budget season, if it's looking like we need to roll that over one more year, then we'll make that request of council. But, so, because it has to go through this Public Works bidding process, now we're obligated to go with the lowest responsible and qualified bidder. So,
Most responsible,
okay with that.
responsible,
I'm
most
really-
The
responsible.
word responsible is.
So,
not involved.
we-
I don't think we're gonna have like 100 people bid.
No, I don't
we-
either.
and we've included pre-qualifications.
Right,
in-
that's true,
in
we
the
did.
RFP,
We did.
so we're, there's a filter at the top of the application process.
I knew
Yeah,
it.
yeah. So, Rebecca
We find-
reviewed those, the pre-qualifications for us, and, so we're requiring certain levels of experience and,
Mhm.
so we're basically saying you need to be a conservator of historic concrete structures, sculptures, to even apply for this. And-
Narrows the
Yeah.
field.
Which is nobody, right? It's like one person.
This information you're telling us, I already knew it, right? Because you already told us this pre-October, right? So
Well, I
No,
guess-
not that it was infrastructure.
Yeah, so we approved the
When did
draft
that-
RP in October, so it was November that the attorneys got involved, so it has been tied up there for a while.
So
for like 4 months.
Yeah, we're like 3 months now, so I've been pushing them and getting it'll be ready soon.
Mm.
So yeah, maybe it's a case of getting the administrator involved to push them further. But well, as in Brad was thinking it's fine. Contractors at the beginning of the year this is kind of when they're doing their planning and they'll bid on a ton of projects. And this timing is pretty good
Yeah,
at
but
the
I
end of
don't
the
know if he
year.
understands that we're not just looking for a contractor. You know,
Yeah, it's more of a conservator. He understands this pretty well, what exactly we're looking for.
I
Yeah.
thought we already searched for a conservator and found one person, and that person,
I think that was, I don't think he was.
we couldn't contact, and it just
I
didn't
think
return our
that
calls or.
was,
No,
that was like somebody doing their own research.
okay.
So that will, I won't be ready soon. Hopefully something we can discuss at a March
I've been
meeting.
hearing this for years.
Yeah.
Oh.
Poor Pagoda.
You want me to show you a picture of another pagoda?
No.
Everyone is.
After we adjourn the meeting, okay, so, number 6, letter D. Number 2, National Register nomination update, 2 properties, Laura, you wanna go ahead?
Yeah, so the Frostwoods Historic District, the application was submitted back in the fall and during the winter, and the Historical Society will be announcing the award winners by the end of the month. So we'll
February?
be hearing, yep, we'll be hearing any day now, if we got that money. And then we'll move forward with then finding a contractor to consultant to prepare that nomination form for us. So I'll let you know as soon as I know,
Anything about the, Loden Fern Tompkin House?
and then you all know this already, but that house was added to the National Register. So we announced that in the newsletter.
In the news,
Mhm.
all over reservation.
Yep, so that's exciting. Now, we
And
this
we,
year identify the next property we want to try and get listed.
are there any,
Well, right now,
About
we
the
just are looking
district
at the district,
Was what
right?
we were
The
hoping to
district,
do,
yeah,
and not a specific other house.
Yeah.
although
the Frostwoods?
Yeah.
Is there any update on that you'd like to share?
No.
No, okay,
Okay.
great. All right, update discussion on Frank Ellis House,
We read it.
aside
We read that
from
today.
okay, all right. And then letter E, DEI initiatives, I'll just leave by saying that the library right now currently has a wonderful display, a lot of information. There was this program on Saturday called Risking Everything. So get over there if you find yourself with some time to check that out. Anyone else have anything they'd like to share? All right, updates and discussion on sustainability efforts. You know what Rebecca brought to my attention, just something that you shared with me about demolition and recycling, and Thor and I talked about that, and we'll be looking into other communities and what their ordinances are and whether we can do something here in Leavenworth.
Yeah, the AIA is, the AIA Madison chapter is putting on a tour of the Dane County facility or something like that through Madison's ordinance.
The new campus, like the sustainability campus?
No,
like,
it's
is that what-
for like the demolition deconstruction,
Oh,
whatever is in that ordinance. Can I share with you?
Yeah, Teresa passed along to me.
That's how I'm kind
What are we talking about?
Sustainable efforts for the
um,
city.
If you turn
of
on.
recycling,
Some
avenue
recycle.
demo, yeah, recycling the problem.
Okay.
Stuff.
Right, we don't have an ordinance right now.
Mhm.
We've required it of certain projects in the
Yep,
past, the
yep.
plan commission has, but we don't have an ordinance.
I think it's the city of Madison has a very strict ordinance. Almost, I mean, it's some contractors think it's crazy,
Mm,
okay? So they tear down a bunch of buildings to build a new building. And because we look at one right across the street from us. And the new building has to meet these strict sustainable goals for demolition, which are great, I think. And then they go to build a new building and they have 10% waste on the brick.
Right.
So it's like, you know,
In
it's
one and out
really,
the other.
mhm.
but we don't have anything,
We don't have anything.
No,
which
And-
is, you know. we don't have
I bring it
targets, right? I
up
don't
because
think we
I'm
even have
watching house after
targets.
house after house
No.
being torn down in my
Yeah.
neighborhood.
Mhm.
I just ran by and saw a whole.
But is that a landmarks
Other day.
commission thing?
Yeah, and I witnessed a house in my neighborhood being torn down with zero.
I bring it up as a landmarks commission partially because we are post-war housing in our community, like, and we're like, it's starting to disappear. Like, 2 houses on Maywood just got torn down. Just this year.
But that's not a, I
So-
mean, I
so-
get that, but that's not a, let's be
Recycling,
sustainable when we tear down a building thing.
Yeah.
Or, I don't.
Yeah, I
think-
think it's just an overlap. I would somehow like to see Monona do a little more proactive. Let's not tear down our house. Look at the house on McKenna that added on to their house.
I agree with you, but I think that's different than the other
Recycling,
subject
yeah.
that we're talking
Yeah.
about. They're both important, I think, but they are different. They might be the same.
Yeah, I just think they overlap. I don't think they're the same.
I'm trying to figure out how to tackle the other,
the new part, right? The new
Yeah.
part waste?
like, does it come from
Yeah,
this
yeah,
group? Did it
true.
go somewhere?
Oh, I see what
Somebody-
you're saying.
Or is it a public works thing again, you
Yeah.
know? I don't know.
Well, I brought it to Teresa's attention because she
Yeah,
also leads
sustainability,
sustainability,
right?
Yeah,
Mhm.
So that's what we were talking about, but I see also your point about like, could we incent, or is there a way to preserve the current?
Well, yeah, and I think I brought it up before about like our incentives that we have for like redoing your facade or
Yeah.
upgrading your
Yeah,
furnace.
the
or
renewing
doing
of the
Yeah,
furnace.
and we've,
Things like
there's
that.
been a lot of ongoing conversations about that program as well, how to
There-
better
A
promote
lot
it
of
and,
ongoing conversations,
yeah, adjustments, so
I
that
think
it better
Madison,
meets the
Madison
goals.
just advertised that they have money available, that type of thing.
Yeah.
Or do you have anything for letter G?
I don't have anything else.
All right. In that case, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a
I will
second?
second.
All in favor?
I-
Aye, meeting adjourned at 6:12. Upcoming meetings, March 13th and April 10th.
So Johnny didn't get your cookies.